So next heading is international trade and capital flows. So before we go into starting the reading, there's some important terminologies to know. GDP is the total product, the amount of product, value of product produced within the economy. GNP is gross national product, which is produced within the economy or produced outside the economy by the resources of the economy. If someone goes out and works there, then that is included, and sends out remittance, then that is included in GNP. Terms of trade is price of export divided by price of import. So remember, it is not the amount, it is the price. Price of export divided by price of import. That is what is expensive, what is cheaper. Trade surplus is export minus import. If it is positive, we call it a surplus. If it is negative, we call it deficit. If exports are lower, we call it deficit. This is the total amount of export and total amount of import. Terms of trade is the price of export and price of import. Autarky, if there is a country which does not trade with any other country, that is known as autarky. If there are countries which trade with each other, they are known as free trade. If countries trade with each other without restrictions, that is known as free trade. Trade protection, so if government is putting any restrictions on trade, such as tariffs, quotas, taxes, other, that is trade protection. FDI, if a firm makes an investment into another country, that is known as foreign direct investment. So for if an investor from one country goes to another country and makes a investment into a business or sets up a business there, that is known as foreign direct investment. If an investor goes from one country to another country and buy, let's say, financial assets there, for example, shares of the companies, that is known as foreign portfolio investment. That is making a portfolio. That is foreign direct investment. Portfolio. But that is actually, that would also be foreign direct investment, direct, because that company has actually acquired it, so it is now running the operation, that is running the business. Foreign portfolio investment is when you are not running the business, you are just investing into the stock or maintaining a portfolio. Like for example, if a mutual fund comes here and makes a portfolio here, that is foreign portfolio investment. Benefits and cost of international trade. So why do countries engage into trade? It can help produce lower cost goods in importing. It can help get the goods at a lower cost. Maybe if you produce it at higher price, but maybe you can import it at a lower cost because someone else specializes in it. Greater employment in exporting countries. So the countries which are exporting, the employment in those countries increase. What are the costs? Cost is lost jobs in importing countries. If you start importing something and you do not produce it, then you will lose your country, or your people will lose jobs. Unemployment may increase. Moving on, trends in international trade. So overall, international trade has significantly increased over the past. It has continued to increase over the past years. Now, how do you decide what to trade, what to export, what to import? So there can be two logics that you can use: comparative advantage and absolute advantage. So let's say there are two countries, UK and India, and there are two products, machinery and cloth. India can produce either 2 units of machinery or 16 units of cloth, or UK can produce either 4 units of machinery or 8 units of cloth. If I look at it in absolute terms, India can produce more of cloth. That means India has an absolute advantage in cloth. UK can produce more of machinery compared to India. So this is in comparison. India can produce more of cloth compared to UK, so I had an absolute advantage. UK can produce more of machinery compared to India, so it has absolute advantage in it. This is absolute advantage, looking at the absolute figures. Another type of advantage is comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is the one in which you look at the opportunity cost. So for example, if UK choose to produce machinery, what is the opportunity cost of cloth? So for each 1 unit of machinery, it will have to forego 2 units of cloth. So either it produce 4 machinery or produce 8 cloth. So that means for 1 unit of machinery, it will have to forego 2 units of cloth. 8 divided by 4. So that means opportunity cost to produce machinery is 2 units of cloth. On the other hand, if it produces cloth, then for each unit of cloth, it will have to forego 0.5 units of machinery. Similarly, India will have to forego 16 divided by 2, 8 units of cloth and 0.125 machinery. Correct? Now, if I look into it, if I look at machinery, for machinery, UK has an opportunity cost of only 2 cloth per unit. That means opportunity cost is lower compared to India. So this means UK has a comparative advantage in machinery because its opportunity cost of producing machinery is lower. On the other hand, India has comparative advantage in cloth. Why? Because its opportunity cost of producing cloth is lower compared to UK. So this is comparative and absolute advantage. Theory of Adam Smith or Adam Smith theory said, or Adam Smith said that countries should trade even if it has absolute advantage or if it has absolute advantage. So Adam Smith said that a country would trade if it has absolute advantage or would trade the thing in which it has absolute advantage. But then Ricard came in and Ricard gave a model and said that country would trade if it has comparative advantage. That is, decision of trade will be taken based on the opportunity cost or comparative advantage. And Ricardian model also said that labor is only variable factor of production. It said that only labor is variable. Capital is not a variable factor of production. Only labor is the variable factor of production. And so the countries with higher labor would focus on labor intensive industries and countries with lower labor would focus on capital intensive industries. Differences in labor productivity are key source of comparative advantage. On the other hand, there is another model, HO model. It says that both capital and labor are variable. So remember the differences. Ricardian says only labor is variable. HO says both are variable. Goods are produced with varying combination of labor and capital. Technology in each industry is same across countries but varies between industries. So HO says that technology is same across countries but different in industry. That is, for example, if I pick one industry, automobile, then it will have the same technology in UK, same technology in US and so on. So it says that technology is not a deciding factor in productivity, or labor productivity wouldn't matter, but the quantum of labor will matter. So it says that countries with relatively high labor will focus on labor intensive industries and countries with lower labor will focus on capital intensive industries. How Ricardian differs in it is that Ricardian says that differences in labor productivity are key source of comparative advantage. What it means by it is that it says that one country can have different technology than other country, and if one country has more technology of some industry, of a particular industry, then in that particular industry it will have more labor productivity because technology increases productivity. So it says that if in a particular industry one country has more technology, then its productivity for labor will be better, and so it will have a comparative advantage in that particular product.
Capitalized industry का जो है labor intensive industry का comparison कैसे करें?
So what they are trying to say is that Ricardian says that labor quantity will not only be the factor. Instead, the technology of the country will be a deciding factor. Like for example, in automobile, one country will have high technology, another would have low technology. So the country which has high technology, due to this technology, would have high labor productivity. As it has high labor productivity, it will have a comparative advantage in this particular industry. So it is not due to the quantum of labor only, it is due to having better technology and so better productivity. What HO would say is, HO would say that this technology difference wouldn't exist. It says that technology in both will be same. Only deciding factor will be the quantum of labor. If there is more labor in this country, it will focus on those industries which are labor intensive, and if there is lesser labor in another country, it will focus on those which are capital intensive. So it does not talk about technological differences in different countries. It says that technology in any industry is same across the countries. While this says, Ricardian says that technology would differ from country to country and so will impact productivity. Here the assumption is that productivity of labor would differ from industry to industry, but not country to country, because technology is same. Technology constant for industry. At industry level, it is constant. For any industry that you pick up, it will be same across countries. Here they say that technology will impact labor productivity and it will be different. Moving on, so when we trade, there can be restrictions on trade. What are those restrictions? Restrictions can be tariff, quota, VR, export subsidy, domestic content provision. Tariff is simply a tax on imported good. Quota is quantity of good that can be imported. That is, for example, you set a limit on import. Voluntary export restraint is exporting country agrees to limit its exports of the good. Export subsidy, that is giving subsidies to exporters. Domestic content provision, some percentage of components used in production. So for example, if there is a company which is producing cars and you come up with a policy that at least 30% should be local components to produce cars, that is known as domestic content provision, in order to benefit your local industries. Remember one key point, no matter what the reduction is. So when we talk about different stakeholders in this in trade, there is government, there is producer, and there is consumer. Correct? So remember one thing, on national level in an economy, with each restriction, one of the party would gain, other would lose out. Government will gain with taxes. Consumer will lose out because consumer will have to pay that taxes. So one party will gain, one party will lose out. But remember one thing, overall impact on national welfare would be negative no matter what the restriction is. With any restriction, overall impact will be negative. Some would gain, some would lose out. Overall impact of any restriction is mostly negative. Moving on to capital restriction, what does it mean? So in an economy, investors can come in and put in capital, or existing investors can go to other countries and take out capital from the economy. So capital can come into an economy or capital can go out of the economy. Restrictions on capital coming in or going out are known as capital restriction. Again, as this is a restriction, it causes overall welfare to decrease in long run. So as I told you, any restriction causes overall welfare to decrease. But now the question is that why do you want to restrict capital? So the reason is that if your economy is getting attractive and large cash flows start coming in, large capital inflows start coming in, that can lead to a boom in the economy. With so many foreign investors coming in, it can lead to a boom, and a boom is followed by a downfall. or a slowdown. So a market can overheat and eventually crash. So that is why you sometimes place restriction on inflow. Why restriction on outflow? Because if your capital is being taken out, then your economy will be left with lesser fund, and so there will be lesser investment in the economy, and so your economy will enter the slowdown. So you want to restrict this outflow. So there can be restriction on inflow as well as outflow. No matter what the restriction is, overall welfare is decreases in long run, generally due to restrictions. Exactly, to manage your outflows, to keep the money within the system. Trade restrictions, we discussed these five. Capital restrictions, we discussed inflows and outflows. And then trading blocks. What are trading blocks? So some countries can come together and form blocks to trade with each other. Those are known as trading blocks. And these are some trading blocks that we will discuss later. But for now, remember free trade area, customs union, common market, economic union, and monetary union. This will come in again. Okay, tariff. What is a tariff? It is a tax. So let's say that your price is currently here. This is your domestic demand at this price, and this is domestic supply. This is gap in demand and supply. What would it be? It would be imported. It will be imported. If you put tariff or if you put tax, your domestic supply will increase. Why? Because you will import lesser products. Why? Because your price has increased. At this price, now the demand will decrease and domestic production will increase, domestic supply will increase. So what is the quantum of import? C. So that means overall imports have decreased. So placing a tariff can lead to decrease in imports. Who wins, who lose out? So consumer was previously getting it at this price. As it was getting it at this price, this all was consumer surplus. So area under the graph of domestic demand is consumer surplus. This was all consumer surplus. Now, so this was consumer surplus, all of this, this, and this. Now price has moved here. So remaining consumer surplus is only these two regions. This, and this have been lost. That means consumer have lost A, B, C, and D. That is the consumer surplus loss. Producer have gained. Why gained? Because previously producer was producing here, and now it is producing here. So producer has gained B. Sorry, producer gained A, because producer surplus is the area under the graph. So producer surplus was previously this much, and now it has increased to including A. So producer has gained A. Revenue or quota rent. Tariff revenue means revenue going to government. So this is the quantity being imported, and this is the tax. So tax multiplied by quantity, C is what government is getting. National welfare, consumer lost this, producer gained this, government gained this. Overall, there is a loss of B and D. So national welfare is at loss. Government gained, producer gained, but consumer lost so much that overall national welfare is in loss. Why would government want to come up with this strategy? In order to protect local or domestic industry, or in order to maintain trade surplus or reduce trade deficit. Quotas similarly are the restriction on import. If it is a quota on import, that is known as quota. If there is a quota or restriction on export, that is known as voluntary export restraint. Export subsidy, given to the exporters to increase your export or to support the export market. Just go through this table once. Uh, when you are reading through the notes, go through this table and try remembering all of these. This simply summarizes that what are the effects of different kind of restrictions on different parties. So what is the impact on producer, consumer, government, and national welfare? So if you look into it, in all of these, you will see national welfare decreasing. Only in some, that is in these cases, national and welfare will increase in large country, could increase in large country, not will increase, could increase in large country or could increase in large country. Why could increase in large country? The reason is that when you have a tariff imposed, then overall welfare will decrease. But if you are a very large uh, if you are a very large country, then your demand will be so much that maybe those who are exporting it to you cut down the prices in order to retain that demand. And if they cut down the prices, the consumer will again get the welfare. So could increase, but not always. Similar is the case in quota.
Could it also increase if they started producing locally?
Yeah, so when they start produce locally, domestic producer surplus will increase, but producer surplus only increases by A. Consumer has lost A, B, C, and D. This goes to producer, this goes to government. B and D are still lost. So until and unless consumer gets benefit on import, overall welfare will not increase. For overall welfare to increase, consumer should get benefit on import purchase. So decrease in tariff general. Just go through it. Producer surplus increase, consumer surplus decrease, government revenue increase, producer surplus increase, consumer surplus decrease. So in all of those restrictions, consumer surplus will decrease. In all of those, producer surplus will increase. Whenever you restrict import, you are actually increasing the producer surplus. Government revenue, if it is a tariff, revenue will increase. If it is a subsidy, decline in subsidy, subsidy will decrease and revenue will net revenue will increase, and so on. Import quota. So when you place a quota on import, its price go up, right? Its price can go up. Why? Because there is demand, and but you are not letting importers import it. So what does it mean? It means that importers will be willing to pay a price to buy the license to import. So if government start issuing license for that import, government can get some revenue out of that quota. So that's how it can convert it into revenue. So just go through it on price. This is impact on price. Price will increase. No matter what the restriction is, price will increase. Consumption decrease. Production increase, and trade imports decrease, export increase, import decrease. So all the restriction will be mostly be focused on increasing export and reducing import. And when you reduce import, consumer gets the impact in terms of price increases, and when price increases, domestic consumption decreases. So this is fairly simple. Just go through it. So that was restrictions, and then trade restriction, capital restrictions, and now trading blocks. So we discussed that 5 trading blocks: free trade area, customs union, common market, economic union, and monetary union. Let's say that there are countries, these countries form a block, and they say that as per this block, we will not keep any restrictions between us. That is, we will trade with each other without restriction. This is known as free trade area. They trade with each other without restriction. And let's say there is some other country X, some other country Y. This country A would have its own policy with X. This country B would have its own policy with X. But in between them, they have no trade restriction. Now what A do with X, what B do with Y, They are not concerned about it. But in between them, they do not have trade restriction. This is free trade area. Now let's say they go one step forward and they say that we will make a block in such a way that there are no trade restrictions between us. In addition to that, we have a united policy with outsiders. That is, we have a united policy which we all follow with outsiders. That is known as customs union. Let's say that they go a step even forward. They say that we will not only freely trade product, but we will also share resources. That is, my labor can go to your country, your labor can come to my country freely. So there is also movement of resources. That is known as common market. Now let's say that there is a common market and they say that we will also have a common economic institution, that our economic institution will be common. We will have same economic policies. So if that is done, that is known as economic union. So that they have common economic policy, common economic institutions and economic policy. Now if they say that we have all of these things, in addition to that we go one step forward and we keep the common currency as well. That is known as monetary union. If they also have common currency, like for example before Brexit UK was a part of
Euro currency to आएगी afterward world.
yes. So that is a monetary union. So let's say before Brexit, UK was a part of European Union. European Union was an economic union. Why? Because UK had a different currency and some other countries had euro as currency. But there were many countries which had euro as their currency. So those countries were a monetary union, but overall that this was economic union. So this is how it is done. So remember the sequence: free trade, custom union, common market, economic union, monetary union.
UK's aim is to be in none of those types of trading blocks, right?
UK has exited the before Brexit, it was a part of European Union, but now post Brexit, it wouldn't be a part of any of these areas. So moving on further with trade, when we are doing trade, exporting or importing, obviously that needs to be recorded. How do you record it? There is some accounting which needs to be done. And how do you make that account? You make T accounts, debit credit accounts. What are the accounts that you make? You make current account, capital account and financial account. What is current account? Current account reflects private savings, government savings and investment. So whenever you have trade flows going out, money going out or money coming in, that can be either of fixed in nature, that is for more than 1 year, or that can be a current in nature. For example, remittances coming in, remittances going out, that is short term in nature or for less than 1 year. So those short term flows are captured in current account. Those long term flows are captured in capital account. And then there can be flows related to financial assets. For example, a bond related to bonds, related to shares, that goes in financial account. So the key difference is that in current account you have merchandise trade, services, income receipts, unilateral transfers. So all these are current in nature, that is running flows. In capital account you have capital transfers or sales and purchase of non-produce, non-financial assets, that is long-term kind of cash flow or investment. In financial account you simply have flows related to financial assets. So a country's assets abroad are further divided into official reserve assets, government assets, private assets. Foreign owned assets in the reporting country are further divided into official assets and other foreign assets. So if these assets are financial assets, for example, bonds, equities, mortgage backed security, direct investment, foreign liability, if these are financial assets, they are recorded in financial account. If this is a sale or purchase of non-financial asset, then it will go into capital account. If it is not about purchasing, selling asset, but it is about trade, service, income, that goes into current account. That is how it is separated. And recording all of these into accounts is known as balance of payments. BOP account would comprise current, capital, and financial. If I combine all these, that will be my balance of payment account. That shows the overall inflows and outflows from the economy. A key point to remember, another key point to remember in addition to these definitions is this equation. Make sure that you memorize it because you may see practice questions on this. So current account, remember, if there are three factors which can impact current account. If private savings go up, current account improves. If government savings go up, current account improves. If investment goes up, current account deteriorates.
What kind of investment?
Any investment into long-term investment that would lead to a capital out, that would lead to an outflow from current account.
मनी
So-
मार्केट में भी आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट जो है वो करंट
Investment means that if you are making a business investment, for example, if you are making a capital investment, yes, so that will lead to a decrease in current account. So remember this equation. So if you are, for example, asked that there is an economy in which private savings are increasing, government savings are increasing, and investment is decreasing, what will be the impact on current account? You should know it will increase the surplus of current account. Or if you are asked if private savings are decreasing, government spending savings are decreasing, investment is increasing, and you are asked what is the impact of current account, you should know that it will reduce. If you are told that private savings are increasing, government savings are increasing, investment is also increasing, and you are asked what is the impact of current account, you should choose that based on this information it cannot be answered. It can either increase or decrease. So make sure you know this so that you can answer those type of questions.
Absolute figures नहीं देंगे.
So generally you wouldn't have figures, you will just if when you go to the question you will find out that they will ask you to test your concept of impact of these on the current account. So the question will be like if private investment saving increase, government saving increase, what is the impact? So that is balance of payment account. Double entry bookkeeping system simply means debit and a credit, and here is an example of it. A company in Germany sells technology equipment to South Korea or to manufacturer for 50 million. So including the freight charge of 1 million to be paid within 90 days. So there are two things, 49 million and 1 million. You are buying equipment. When you buy equipment, your asset increases. Merchandise will be shipped by a German cargo. In this case, Germany is exporting two assets, equipment and transport. So what is Germany exporting? Germany is exporting goods, and also Germany is doing the cargo. So it is exporting a service of 1 million. And what is it actually receiving against that? 50 million. So asset increased by 50 million and goods and service shipped by 50 million. So this is how you will record it, debit or credit. This was done in previous class already. This was also done. This we have done. Savings, private savings plus government savings minus 1, minus investment. Moving on to trade organizations. What are trade organizations? So three key trade organizations around the world are IMF, World Bank, and World Trade Organization. You should clearly know that what is the difference between these three or their purpose. So remember, IMF's purpose is to lend, is to improve trade by lending. So if some country needs loan, it will lend money. World Bank purpose is to develop. So it will make schools, it will make investment into human capital development in emerging and developing countries and all that. So its purpose is to develop or help improve development. World Trade Organization monitors and regulates trade. Its purpose is to regulate trade, yes.
So World Bank lends basically.
World Bank wouldn't actually, the purpose of World Bank is not to lend. The purpose of World Bank is to develop. So it will make schools, it will give you money to improve maybe plant trees or maybe make educational institutes, or it will give you money to sponsor your students to do PhDs. So it's yeah, so it is, the focus is on development. So purpose is development. Obviously for development you need money, but the purpose is development.
World Bank को IMF backing
World Bank will give money, but that money will not be a loan for, not just be a loan, it will be for development purposes. It will give you money for development. IMF will give you money for no matter what you do of it. So IMF wouldn't give you money to develop, but to lend. World Bank mostly wouldn't be a, it mostly wouldn't be a loan. It will mostly be a aid. Like for example, they invest into, they are investing into entrepreneurship. They are investing into setting up businesses for local parties. So that is mostly not a loan. But even if it is a loan, the purpose is development, not just to give a loan. IMF is basically a, you can say it is a bank which is giving you a, IMF is a lender which is giving you a loan. And WTO regulates trade. So remember these three key differences. So IMF stands ready to lend foreign currencies. World Bank strengthen their government and educate them, implement legal and judicial system, protect individual and property rights, develop financial systems robust enough, combat corruption, so helping developing countries improve growth. World Trade Organization regulates trade related relationship. So this is the difference between these three. Make sure you remember the difference, because if you are asked that which one of the following would be a lender or would lend, or which one of the following has the main purpose of developing emerging markets, you should be able to select the right answer. So this is about international trade and capital flow.